Sorry, man.
Working on it.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's study session. It is 5:30. We'll get the meeting started. Tonight we have three different presentations. So I think the first one is on Mr. Bob Mitchell. So Larry, you want to kick this off, or?
Mr. Mayor, I'll actually hand this particular topic over to Mr. Barber.
Right.
As you can see from the agenda, we have three topics that are unrelated. And so we've asked everybody to try to stay within the 30-minute time frame because it's likely that each will take 30 minutes. But with that, I'll hand it over to Scott.
Thank you, Larry. Mayor McFarland, members of the council, a number of months ago, I received a phone call from a longtime friend and former Parks and Recreation Director here at the City of Casa, Grande, Jerry Sullivan. And Jerry said he was putting together a committee to talk about possible ways that we might be able to honor the memory of Bob Mitchell, our former mayor and a longtime educator in the community. And so I said I'd be glad to be a part of that group. And so Jerry began putting that group together so that we could engage in that particular business. And we're delighted to have a number of members of that committee with us this evening. That individuals that were Bob's colleagues in the education circle. John Kashner's here, and Nick DePadre is back here. And then you may or may not know Bob was involved in the Kiwanis Club for a very long time, and Dan Anderson, local businessman, is here, and Dan worked together in leadership in the Kiwanis Club. And then former Judge Judy Ferguson is here, and Bob began his tenure as a deputy judge during Judy's tenure here. Others that have, and I'll introduce more appropriately, former Mayor Chuck Walton is here as well. Chuck served on the council when Bob was the mayor, and you can tell from the pictures over there, he succeeded Bob as the mayor. Other members that have been with us in different ways was, we had Scott McEwen from the education circle that came to a meeting, Danny Juarez, also our current sitting judge, and we also took advantage of the graphic arts skills of Erica Herman along the way, and Erica joined us for a couple of meetings. And so we began to meet, and the results of those meetings is what we're going to be presenting to you this evening. So we're going to talk about some basics of the what and the where, and then Chuck will come up and talk about that, and then Jerry Sullivan will come up and talk about the fundraising efforts. So with that, I'd like to call on our former mayor, Chuck Walton.
Mayor and Council, I'd personally like to thank all of you for giving us consideration on this project. Before I get started, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. I always start with a little controversy. As you can see, there's some very important heads up there in pictures on the wall, and people are going to wonder, why are we busting our rears to put a memorial out there for Bob Mitchell? Why was he so special compared to everybody else? Because every mayor that's been in the city of Casa Grande has contributed either one or many things that's made our wonderful city what it is. But Mayor Mitchell had a knack for putting things together when other people couldn't. He was at the right place at the right time. He had enough connections in his work history and his city history that he could do things that I really don't think would have happened without him being involved. Because when this building was decided to be either fixed or torn down, it would have been a natural decision to make on the part of the board. This is valuable property, let's bulldoze it down and make commercial property out of it. But because Bob Mitchell was involved, and other people obviously, we got something done that might not have happened. So I've got some bullet points that I'd like to bring to your attention. In 1966, Lauren S. Curtis was the superintendent of schools. He hired Bob Mitchell. And I was in school under Lauren Curtis as a superintendent, and I was kind of an honorary student. We didn't get along too good, but in my adult life, His wife was my teacher twice in the 4th and the 8th grade. My dad was a personal friend of his, and we became social friends. And several times he mentioned to me at dinners and other occasions that Bob Mitchell was one of the most important hires he ever made. Because Bob had a knack for getting people together. You read about it all the time, schools and boards getting in controversial adversarial conditions over insurance, benefits, and that sort of thing. But Bob was in charge of a lot of those things to make the life better for teachers. And many board members have told me that if it wasn't for Bob Mitchell, some of these projects wouldn't have got together. But I've lived in Casa Grande since 1947, and for many years I lived 2 doors down from Bob Mitchell, and I was amazed at how many students would come in 20 years after they graduated and make a special trip over to Bob Mitchell to say hello. They thought that much of him. A couple of I'd like to mention, Eric Shirley, Major General in the United States Army. He was raised by his grandmother right here in Casa Grande from not a very wealthy family, went to the University of Arizona, and is now a Major General in the United States Army. Bob kind of coached him a little bit, told him how to get the benefits out of an education and what steps to take, and inspired in him the desire to get as far as he has come because of his influence, not only as a teacher, but as a friend. And Eric and Wayne Mitchell, Wesley Mitchell, were very personal friends, so Bob had a lot of contact with him. Another one that came by many times to see Bob, I don't remember his name, but he is now an admiral in the United States Navy. And Bob said he's told him many times he wouldn't be where he is today if it hadn't have been for the foundation that Bob gave him as educational-wise, desire-wise, dedication to your country, and so forth. So those
Chuck,
are some
I
of the
believe that's
reasons that
Barry
we wanted
Bruner.
to honor Mayor Mitchell. But like I said, he was connected with the city, and he was the mayor for a while, from 1994 to 2002. He was a high school education teacher in this building, starting in 1966. And my wife was a student teacher, my first wife. She died of cancer in '82, so we became very close friends. Wesley and my son were close friends. So I know more about him than a lot of people do. And it's all good, too. But I saw some of the things that, we all have favorite teachers, at least one. But how many people would go 20 years later to come back and tell them, thank you for doing what you did for me? That's some of the reasons that we're here today. But anyway, many of his classes were held in this building. He served on the Planning and Zoning Commission for several years before he was elected mayor because he wanted to be involved in government, either city or statewide. And while serving as the mayor, he was instrumental in the purchase and renovation of Old Main, the building we've got now. And there was a lot of murmuring about if that building gets torn down, there's going to be hell to pay. Because there's a lot of old-time Casa Grande farmers and businessmen that graduated from this school back in the 1920s, and they didn't want it torn down. We've made 4 mistakes in that field. 2 central school buildings were demolished. The old Army building was demolished, and the old City Hall was demolished. Looking back, we think, well, we shouldn't have done that. Well, thank goodness we didn't do it to this building. He was instrumental in getting the University of Arizona and ASU's, their arts department, to help design the city logo. He had an influence in that. The monument that we're proposing is 2-foot by 4-foot horizontal granite slab with the city's logo and the cougar emblem. It will also have 100+ worded script and an 8x10 porcelain photo of Bob. The monument will be located in a small area adjacent to the clock that's out in front. Now, we've gone to League of Cities meetings, and they always have booths trying to sell the city's different things. Bob was fascinated with clocks. His whole house is full of grandfather clocks. But he came back from that meeting and had a whole bunch of literature on that clock. Well, he's smart enough to realize you don't spend taxpayer money hanging a clock out in the front yard without raising hell with somebody. So he got poor Mr. Barber to do his work for him and gathered up non-taxpayer money to put that clock there. That was just kind of some of the things he did. The total cost of this monument is, we think, about $35,000. It will not be taxpayer money. We're going to get it from local dedicated lovers of Bob and respecters of Bob. And if we get lucky and get more money than the $35,000, we're going to get a scholarship fund for Bob. We're going to go through the Kiwanis Club. Bob was a member of the Kiwanis Club probably since he came to Casa Grande. So they volunteered to get in the middle of this. And we sure appreciate all your consideration. Thank you.
Mayor McFarland, City Council members, thank you for allowing us to come before you tonight. It's been a long time since I've been at this podium. I've been at this podium probably more than 100 times, not necessarily in this room, in this venue, but over at the old, what's now the Casa Grande Public Library. So if I'm a little rusty tonight, you have to take that into consideration. I want to do some trivia facts on this, this monument. It appears in the drawing that you see to be a horizontal structure. It's not. It's more, I'm sorry, a vertical structure. It's more of a horizontal structure. It does start low at the base, and it goes up to 2 feet in the back. It's 4 feet wide. The amazing thing is I often wondered what it weighed. They've got something out there very similar, but this particular monument, the base alone, is over 1,000 pounds. It's a 6-inch, I guess, concrete slab they put in. It's a little bit larger than the base of the monument, and it sits on top. The monument itself is 3,750 pounds. So I don't think we're gonna have to worry about anybody taking off with it.
Just gonna walk away with it?
We need to put down 50% of the money for this to get it ordered. That's the good news. The bad news is, I suppose it has something to do with this, these ships being docked off of Long Beach, the supply chain problem. It's coming from outside this country. I'm not going to say where, but it will take a minimum of 6 months to get here. And once it gets to the United States, it's going to stay in California for a while, where they do all the inscriptions and the painting and all those things. The cougar head is going to be gold, and the city emblem, the city logo, will be teal background with the gold CG letters. Gloria and I have been working on a GoFundMe program. We got into it this weekend, and we worked on it yesterday. It's kind of frustrating. They keep sending these little text messages to you for codes and stuff. I guess they're just being real careful about it. But we hope to get that fund set up quickly. But at this point in time, we're going to say sometime between Wednesday and maybe the weekend. But hopefully we'll get it done sooner than that. We're probably going to get after it tomorrow. That's where we plan on getting most of the funds. That's a very good way to raise money. You can network out over the internet. I'm not an internet guy. I'll be making phone calls and sending some emails. But the whole idea is to set up a network where people are spread out through social media, and hopefully we can get this money quickly. This is not going to be a sprint. We know that, particularly in light of the fact that the monument's not going to be here for 6 months after we order it. So we're probably, at the best case scenario, is more than likely about 10 months from now we'll be dedicating this monument. We are not going to. Somebody asked me the other day, what if you don't get the money? That's not an option. We're going to get the money. It might take a little longer than we like, more than we want, but we're going to get the money. The one thing that we're going to try to get out, and I think what, the dispatch they did a great article the other day. I met with Donovan Kramer last Thursday. I wasn't expecting that article in the newspaper. I was talking to him about giving him a heads up for this meeting. And I got back and I called former Mayor Walton, and he said, well, they got a story in the newspaper already. I said, really, So Gloria and I were in Pine Top this weekend, so I didn't get a chance to see it, but I did see it. It was very well done. We're very happy about that. But we do need to get the message out where people can write a check. This is all going to be funneled through the Kiwanis Club of Casa Grande. They're going to be our bank account. I think people, just knowing that it's going to the Kiwanis Club of Casa Grande are a little more trustworthy than if it was going to some bank account they didn't know what it was. Initially, we tried to set it up strictly through the Kiwanis Club, but it's a little problematic. And we checked on GoFundMe. They do charge 2.9% of your donation. If you make a $100 donation, it's going to be a $3 charge. And they tack on a 30-cent charge on top of that. I'm not sure what that's all about, 30 cents. And then you can give donations. You can tip them. They call it a tip. But we feel that that's the best and most effective way to raise money to get this tribute done. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have.
Lisa?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the committee. It's so nice to see some of these old-time, I'm not going to say old faces, old-time faces here. Coach Kajner and DePadre, thank you so much. We talk a lot here at the City Council, when discussions have come up about the history of this building and preserving it and the campus. And, that's for, because of people like Bob. As you all know, I went to school here, grew up here, but when I look at who was a huge influence in my life as a high school kid and beyond, even as a city council member, Bob is the person that always inspired me. I was that when you talk about influence, Mayor, when you talked about the influence he made on students, I was one of those. No one went to college, in my family, besides my siblings and I, but, we're first generation college students, but he was the one that put it in my mind that you can do this, the importance of education and continuing education. When my family moved back here, to raise our family, it's people like him that always supported us, and we wanted to come back and be like that, come back and support this community. So I was really happy to see that we are honoring him, especially here at this building. I know what he's done to contribute to this, preserving it, the influence he's made on thousands and thousands, not only as a mayor, but as a teacher and a friend and someone that just was so much more to the young people. So I'm really happy to see this. Of course, people have differences in their life with people, but he was a huge influence in my life, and I'm just and so many people. So I'm just really happy to see you guys doing this and honoring someone that meant so much to our community.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Excuse me. I'm one of those ones that was a student, and I wouldn't be here sitting in this seat today if it wasn't for him. He inspired me because he was actually the mayor and my government teacher simultaneously in this campus here.
Really?
Yeah, so he didn't quite inspire me to be a major general or anything, but I mean, city councilman, I'm pretty happy with that. But he really did.
And local business owner.
And local business owner, of course, because he had a lot of businesses too. He always had something going. And he taught all of us that. And he said something, Mayor Walton, people, Bob, and you remember the Friends of Bob, when he was campaigning, FOB, he had the shirts, Friends of Bob. If you campaigned for him, you were a friend of Bob. And so that was one of his things, and he always had something going like that. But he really was inspirational to a lot of, generations of Casa Grande residents. And another neat thing about him is his love for government and history, and he always led the Back East trip. And when I was in high school, we took the trip for 7 days on our spring break to go to Washington, D.C., Boston, New York City. We went all over back east, and he knew where to go, how to get there, what to eat, where to eat, and the best place to eat, and all the history. And he says, we'll go, even it was before 9/11, obviously, but in the White House, he goes, we'll go through this door right here. Just act like you know what you're doing, and we'll see some neat things back here before anyone catches us, And we did all that. And another good thing that he taught us, It's not a problem unless you make it a problem. And that was always, my wife and I still talk about that every day because she went on the back east trip with him too before I did, just to say. But it was a lot of fun. And, you know, raising the money, I've already had a couple people contact me about looking for the GoFundMe. And I said, well, we haven't quite approved it yet, so it's not set up. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. But if I was just sitting here thinking, if every student, just students, not even people, just every student he touched gave $1, we'd have plenty of money.
You're right.
But if everyone gives $5, I mean, we'd have more than enough to make the monument, install that, do a scholarship, all kinds of stuff, because he did. You know, he did inspire all of us to do that. And he even got me in Key Club. You know, he did Key Club when I was in high school, all kinds of activities. So anyway, I don't think there's a better person, because like you said, Mayor Walton is, I mean, he wasn't just the mayor. He was a personification of what we do here in the building and all the kids that he touched. So I'm excited about this project. So thanks.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because we talked about different funding, who we were going to look for, and we talked about corporate funding and stuff, but we really backed away from that, at least for now. We feel like we can create a grassroots environment here, and we want a lot of donors. I think there's more than 1,000 people out there that would donate. We just have to reach out and find them.
Oh yeah, like I said, I don't think we'll have a problem. If everyone donated $1 that he touched, that'd be easy,
Anthony?
I would agree. He had an inviting spirit about himself, very drawn. He was also my teacher. And I'm so thankful for this committee. My coach is here, Coach Cashner, Nick DePadre, my wrestling coach. Thank you so much for you invested in this young man. And also yourself, Jerry, and all the work that you've done. And to our Mayor Walton, thank you for all your support. Judge, so good to see you. It's an honor to be able to honor a person in such a statue as Bob Mitchell. He's been very impactful to our community, I believe state too. So many people that he has impacted and affected their lives. And that's not to take away, as it was said, I think Mayor Walton had mentioned about from the other people. But we're just so thankful for him and all that he's done and the impact that he's made. I'm big on making impact. You make an impact on an individual so much that you leave an impression that they'll never forget. And that's what Bob Mitchell was, even to my life. And like I said, he had an inviting spirit, so he wanted to come around. He wanted to talk, And so I believe this will be a great honor, and I'll be willing to invest in it as well.
Anthony is known for his football prowess, but actually in high school, Anthony was a better wrestler than he was a football player.
That is correct. I love wrestling. Wrestling is my first love. And my coach.
Well, and just for me personally, I've known Bob the 20 years that I've been here. I met him when I first came to town, and he was always very welcoming, very kind, even to outsiders, as I was not from Casa Grande. But I got to know his brother, I got to know his son, his nephews. I mean, his nephew was mayor of Tempe at the time when I first got elected, and he helped me really get into the League of Arizona Cities, which I gave Casa Grande a presence on the league board. So a lot of positive thoughts for Bob and his family, his whole family. And so it's I've always had a spot in my heart for Bob too, even though I'm a short timer. I've only been here 20 years. So, but this is definitely a worthwhile program, and I know you'll get support even from us who are not native Casa Grandeans. So
We can't all be perfect.
I know. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Like I said, we appreciate it. I know it's on the agenda for tonight's council meeting, so we'll obviously vote on it then. But thank you for all your thoughts and comments, and appreciate everything that you all have done as a committee, and those who are not here as well. So thank you. Scott?
Mayor, I did want to note that we've been engaged with Community Services Director Gallegos about the location, about the site. We'll be coordinating the pad, obviously, and we're talking with them about the re-landscaping plan out front as well. And then on the agenda this evening, we'll be asking you for your formal approval of, to be able to go forward with this project. So thank you for listening.
All right, thank you, Scott. All right, Larry, next.
Yes,
Thank you,
Mr.
Reverend.
Mayor, members of the council, the next item that we have on the study session is a presentation by our Chamber of Commerce related to the major accomplishments pertaining to the tourism office, the destination marketing organization. So with that, am I handing the baton to Lou?
It's like the
All
worst,
right.
'cause then it's been all night.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Hi, dear Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for letting me doing the presentation today. Just before we start, I'm just gonna give a special thanks to the City Department of Economic Development and Community Service and Public Information Office, as well as City Manager Larry Rings and Mayor Mark Fowland. Please save all the questions till the end. We're gonna get started from now.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you guys so much for having me here. My name is Mark Matejek. I'm with Clear Channel Outdoor, and we've been working with Renee and Lou and the rest of the chamber and tourism board to just get the Casa Grande brand out there and help you tell your story. So, you know, how do we do that? And, you know, what is out of home? And, you know, how can it help Casa Grande to drive awareness and visitation? So in this presentation, I'll include a brief overview of out-of-home advertising, and then I'll also, we can take a dive into your billboard campaigns, both past and current. So what is out-of-home? Out-of-home is billboards, transit advertising, airport advertising, even, I know we have some members with sports background, if you're in a big stadium and you see, ads there, it's basically anything outside the home, right? So, and out of home is very favorable amongst the public. And I think personally that that's really just because there's two sides of the coin. You can go really big with it. It's bold. It creates an experience that can be memorable, think like Times Square or Vegas, right? But then at the same time, it's very subtle, unobtrusive, unlike, that TV ad that, interrupts your favorite show, right? It's just kind of, you see it in your daily travels, and sometimes it's even almost subliminal, but it's always there, always working. So this slide just, like I said, out of home is a very noticeable medium. It's hard to miss. So, it just really drives action both online and offline. So this slide just kind of gets into some of the actions, that are taken once an out-of-home ad is digested. So this is just, some examples of, of some other, tourism boards and, some of the ads that they've run. And now I may be a little biased, but I happen to think that Casa Grande's designs stand up to, to the top of them. So, like I said, our past campaign was in the summer, kind of fall of 2023 last year. And, we were really, we were looking to reach Arizonans and just, remind them what a vibrant place Casa Grande is, the rich culture, and, it's a great place to visit, and also to, to bring your business and to bring, economic activity. So how we did that was we, there were a couple different kinds of billboards that we leveraged. And so the first one was digital billboards. And digital billboards are really great for serving contextual messaging. You know, it's really going to speak to the viewer where they're at and make them feel like you're, you know, talking directly to them and supplying them with information that, you know, is relevant to their lives. And then we also utilized printed bulletins, and printed bulletins are great for really hammering home that message, you know, really just, you know, that constant, consistent branding of your name. You have, you know, when you're up on a location, you own that location. You know, it's almost like, you know, a monument or a landmark, right? And, you know, you have 100% share of voice. So, you know, it's just really great for, you know, for that branding purpose. So we used, like I said, we used digital billboards and printed billboards. In Phoenix, we had 5 digital billboards that netted you guys a little north of 24 million impressions. It's a lot. That's a huge campaign. And then in the Tucson and Casa Grande area, we had 4 printed billboards. So again, that digital and printed kind of working hand in hand. And that plan netted just a little under 8 million impressions. And the campaign, like I said, kind of ran August through November, so kind of like a summer into fall campaign. And this is just a look at the map. So, you know, we wanted to reach people from all directions and just drive them this way, right? So we had a billboard west of Phoenix to reach people that are, you know, coming in from California. We had a couple billboards up on I-17 to, you know, reach people coming from, you know, Sedona, Flagstaff, and up north. And then, you know, we continued down, you know, through Phoenix and into, you know, even Chandler, you know, to just continue that journey. And then we had one billboard that I couldn't even believe this was available, because like I've literally gotten so many calls about it. It's right, I want to say it's right by exit 194. It's right by that exit, you know, where all the restaurants and everything are. And, you know, you guys were on that. And then we had, you know, billboards starting in like Tucson proper, and then Marana, and then Eloy. So just kind of reaching people from all directions, like I said. And so one thing I really love about, you know, the branding for Casa Grande is just how colorful and vibrant it is. And that really is just kind of on par with my understanding of, you know, just the city of Casa Grande in general. But so this is just kind of a look at, you know, that colorful, real vibrant. My favorite is probably the Mi Casa Grande, Su Casa Grande. I think it's kind of clever. But another thing, going back to that, you know, that contextual messaging, on each one of the billboards, there was a design that we ran that, depending on where that billboard was, we put, you know, like 40 miles to Casa Grande, you know, 20 miles, so kind of just different, you know, to really, again, let the you know, the audience know that it's not a one-size-fits-all, you know, campaign. It's really, you know, kind of based on where they're at. So, and then these are the look, these are a look at, you know, your printed billboards, both here in Casa Grande, like I said, and in Tucson. And I love the, you know, again, the colorful nature, and then those stamps, like the Live It, Love It from your website. And so, yeah, the one on the left is the one right by Casa Grande. You can see the In-N-Out billboard in the background. So it lets you know, not only are you going to get a great experience, you know, you're going to leave with a full stomach too. You're going to get a good burger. So, so yeah, I mean, you guys don't necessarily just reach Arizonans, right? I mean, you guys have people coming from all over the country here. So, you know, much in the same nature, Clear Channel, we're a nationwide brand. So this is a look at our footprint. We're in, you know, all the top DMAs, airports. DMAs are just designated marketing areas, basically cities. So I worked with Lou. Lou was really integral in this whole process, did a lot of homework, and pulled together, you know, some of your top feeder markets into a heat map, which then we took on our end and just looked at, the efficiency with which we can reach, an audience for you guys. And so we landed on 2 key markets based on, kind of our discussions, and then also, Clear Channel's billboard footprint there, and also, the volume of an audience that is going to be seeking, a warm destination during the cold winter months. I'm from Boston, so I can personally attest to when you're in like sub-zero temperatures, the thought of like 50 or 60 degree weather is like paradise. So this is just kind of diving in a little further. I won't get too in the weeds, but we have a proprietary software tool that uses mobile location data to just kind of measure consumer movement across the market, basically, how they interact with all of our displays. So there were 5,000 plus actually billboards across the Chicago and Minneapolis and St. Paul areas that scored really high for reaching folks that had been on travel websites or had gone on cruises or vacations to the Caribbean. So they're looking for warm travel destinations. And this is a look at what we're currently running. You can see there this campaign started January 15th and is running through basically the end of March. You have 10 digital billboards across the Chicago metro area and the suburbs. You're basically reaching about 15% of the market, and that 15% of the market is reaching, is seeing the ad 13 times. And this is important, because it stands to reason, right, that, every time you see an ad, the same person sees the ad, more likely, right, they're gonna be to take action. And I don't know why, it's just kind of the magic number is actually is 12. So once someone has, engaged with an ad 12 times, it's just the odds skyrocket that they're gonna, remember you, take action. So, we can see we're past that there. Minneapolis is just crazy. I mean, a reach of 22%, and the frequency with which people are seeing that 22% is seeing the ad is 21 times. So almost double that magic number. I forgot to mention there's 10 digital billboards there as well. So you have 20 billboards running in total across Chicago, Minneapolis, and St. Paul. That campaign in Minneapolis is set to guarantee at least over 20 million impressions. So again, we're going really big here. We went big in Arizona. We're going big in the Midwest, and this next part is really where it's really fun because we get to actually see the ads out on the street and what they look like to the public. I love this one because so me and Lou and my creative team were kind of just brainstorming on creative things we can kind of do to catch people's attention, and one of the really cool things we can do is we can beam in kind of live feeds, and so you can see from this picture, I mean, there's clearly snow on the ground. Potentially there's kind of snow falling as the picture is being taken, and then you got Casa Grande high of 73. So I mean that's kind of speaks for itself. And this is another one. Again, it's kind of gray, kind of drab, definitely snow on the ground, slushy, and then like I said, I just love you guys' colors. It's so vibrant and just really stands out, especially with a backdrop like that. And then it's a very tried and true strategy, not only amongst billboards but on all forms of advertising. Excuse me. Giveaways, right? Who doesn't want something for free? So Lou has worked with in conjunction with a couple of the local RV parks to use a sign up on your website or on the the tourism website to drive web traffic when people go to sign up, which I think is a really great idea. And last but not least, this is by far my favorite, because when I first looked at it, I was like,
What is that?
I was like getting ready to like call my photographer. I'm like, I don't know, but upon closer investigation, it was really just snowing so hard. And then it says escape winter. So I mean, it's like, that's priceless. I mean, you can't make this up, you know, so.
73.
73, it's probably like negative 20 there, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, just, kind of a brief overview, and then just looking at, some of the your campaigns, the one, we ran last year and, the one that we're currently running. So I tried to cover everything, but I mean, are there any questions, or did I leave anything out that you might like to know about, or?
That's good.
We've been kind of following it, so.
Okay, nice.
Mayor, can I make a comment?
Go ahead, Liz.
No, and I just, well, thanks for the update. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we did see pictures somewhere, but no, these
Yeah,
were
Larry- I think
great.
Larry's put
Yeah,
some
has sent them to
updates.
us, but I just wanted to compliment, the mayor. This is, I know something, Mayor, you have been behind this for a very long time, as all of us have, approved, everything, but, for the DMO, and the chamber, for your vision, and, it's appealing. I mean, to me, I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, that looks like a great place there.
Yeah,
But no, and I must say, I think I was driving on the freeway the first time I saw one of these, and I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, where did that go?
right?
So it was exciting to see. So, no, thank you very much. And are you going to share with us after, is it until March, the middle of March, or
Yes.
this campaign?
Yeah.
Are we going to renew some of that, or wait until?
Well, we probably won't, I don't know, we haven't had a meeting to discuss it, but I think we have. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we've, from a financial standpoint, it looks
Right.
like there's 2 campaigns a year.
Okay.
kind of deal, so.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can just expand on the question, per the agreement with the chamber related to the DMO action items, the mayor and council will be hearing in a study session, likely in March or April, probably more likely April,
Probably the budget.
a bit of an overview for the proposed 2025 action plan. So that's yet to come.
That includes budget too, right?
It will. The budget will be introduced at that time as well. In fact, Renee and I were just having a bit of a dialogue about that.
Cool.
good. But thank you.
Any other
Thank you guys
questions,
so
comments?
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
So the next presentation gonna be by the Blossom Digital regarding the DMO website.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Brian Kramer. Happy to be here this evening, representing Kramer Media and Blossom Digital Marketing. I'm going to give you a quick update on the DMO website, which is experiencecasagrande.com, and some digital marketing efforts that we're managing on behalf of the Chamber. Okay, so first of all, the website consists of 50 tourism-focused pages, mostly local imagery. So we really, and I think this is what really tells our community story, right? Is sharing, local people and local things to do, and really visually telling the story of our community. So that was an important component of this website. And then lastly, we built the site with search engine marketing in mind. So what that means is, the content was written and designed to be found on Google, right? When people are searching for things to do. And so leading with that search-focused content, I think really adds a lot of value to the website. So a little bit of the rationale. How did we develop these 50 pages, right, that represent our community and what people are searching for when they're, researching Casa Grande? We started by identifying what is our value proposition as a community. What do we have to offer tourists, right? Why would people come here? And so, between the weather and the parks, the mountain trails, I think that's a really that's a tremendous asset. The splash pad, our location, right? The proximity from Phoenix and Tucson, and the day trips. You can stay here if you're from out of state, travel 3 hours, and get to so many different diverse landscapes across the state. The neon sign park, and then the historical buildings, unique food offerings, et cetera. So that was kind of what we identified as the community's value proposition. Step 2 was we researched top tourism searches in Arizona. So what are people, when they're Googling, tourism related things, what are they searching for? The second component of that is, of those searches, what are the high volume, low competition searches? So where is our opportunity, right? And then lastly, as kind of a collaborative effort with Lou and Renee, we identified what are some other best practices for other DMOs across the state, like Havasu City, Prescott, Chandler, these other communities that have really robust tourism offices or DMOs, and how are they positioning themselves? So the third step was we overlaid the items in 1 and 2. So where does our value proposition line up with the opportunity, right? And we started working on content. So it was a collaborative effort, which Lou was tremendously helpful in. And between our staff and chamber staff and artificial intelligence, we had some of this was written by ChatGPT, which is pretty awesome. Because why not utilize the best technology for first-in-class tourism website for our community? So I encourage you, if you haven't been, experiencecasagrande.com, check it out. And I'd be interested to hear your feedback. If you have any feedback, send it my way. Okay. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the organic marketing of the Experience Casa Grande on social media. So our organization has the pleasure of working with the DMO on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok marketing for our community. So the goal is to drive traffic on these social media platforms to the website and foot traffic to our community on these platforms. We started this effort in July, so we're really just about a little over 6 months into this. These are our handles on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, so check it out. It's pretty awesome. How it's going so far. So these are our organic social media analytics. So we've had 575,000 organic impressions. So these are, over 500,000 times our content has been viewed organically without paying to reach anybody in an ad, right? Just by virtue of being on these platforms and posting engaging content, over 500,000 organic content views. 39,000 plus video views, the majority of which are coming from TikTok. So TikTok has this, virality component and like lots of tourism marketing opportunities. And so we're working collaboratively with the Chamber to create awesome content and get it out there to people on that platform. Here are the statistics at the very bottom, how many followers we have on each platform. So we've got just about 400 on all three. This is as of the end of January. My colleague who manages the TikTok account told me I should have updated this because now we have over 800 on TikTok. So just started some advertising efforts there, and it's almost doubled in a short period of time, which is really exciting. Okay, so the last component of our work with the DMO is the digital marketing on the advertising side. So these are the ads that we're pushing out digitally to reach people above and beyond or organic presence. So on Facebook and Instagram, these are the analytics. And this is an example of an ad that we're serving. So you might have seen some of the Love It marketing is kind of more geared towards local, promoting our community to local residents, right? Park It, Live It, these are kind of more of the external marketing components of this campaign. But really, again, visually showcasing all the great things to do in our community. This is our carousel ad, so you swipe through and you can kind of see all the different elements. But 590,000 plus impressions over that period of time. We've had almost 12,800 clicks, and click-through rate is a measure. Basically, it's you divide the clicks by the impressions to figure out what percentage of people clicked on it who saw it, right? The industry average for Facebook and Instagram for tourism marketing is 1.5%, and ours was over 2%. So pretty impressive. Okay, lastly, on the digital advertising side, we've been serving ads on Snapchat. So this is a platform that reaches a much younger demographic, much like TikTok, and we want to promote kind of in a fun way, what does Casa Grande have to offer, right? So we've served almost 200,000 impressions, have had almost 4,700 swipe ups, which is the equivalent of a click on Snapchat, and our click-through rate, again, far exceeded the industry average. Does anybody have any questions?
Anyone? Yeah, Bob?
Brian, do you have a link or a page that talks about available employment here in the area?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that we do on the tourism website.
Well, that would be on the chamber website.
Yeah, and there's links, and there's
Okay.
links from one to the other.
Lots of cross-promotional between those two websites.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
That's a good
Yeah,
question.
good question.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, this is more tourism
Right.
related.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
but if somebody's touring and they might want a job, then
It all works
might
together.
be something to put just a link for jobs if somebody gets interested. Link to chamber website.
73 degrees.
Yeah.
I'll just finish my statement. In real estate, what we see a lot of, people will be coming in from out of town and will ask what brings them here. And quite often they've already secured employment, so they're moving to the area. And then their next question is the housing market. So I guess ultimately links and would going to the chamber link get you there? I know maybe not a direct link to a realtor, but as long as it'll get you there.
Yeah, great question. So we do have a page on the chamber website that links to, it talks about the community's value, and then it's you ready to move here, or do you love it? And then it links to a list of realtors that are chamber members. So
Okay.
that's kind of how that all
So it
comes
pays to be a chamber member. Just saying.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep. I'll just say in closing, this has been an awesome project for us to work on. So
Yeah, thank you.
Super fulfilling for us to be involved in promoting our community and helping advance the community. So
And I'll say from the other end, it's been really great working with them because they're really close to the chamber and everything, and they understand our community. So
Yeah.
it's been a really good experience, and
You can tell.
they're as excited,
Yep.
and they use our own. Remember one time we had some advertising that didn't use pictures from Casa Grande, and I was like, that's not from Casa Grande.
I believe
So we've
we
never
got-
done that
I
again,
believe we got criticized for that.
but thank you.
Thank you,
It was
Brian.
an airport
Good
and a
job.
desert picture. So yeah, I remember.
I remember.
Okay.
I brought that up in a meeting.
That's not our airport. Yeah, it is.
All right, I got roughly about 5 minutes, so just bear with me. So here's the update for the Taco Fest update. So the left side, you seeing the layout map, and the right side is kind of the just the general map.
And this is Dave White, right?
This is at the Dave White Regional Park. We're gonna be hosting this Taco Fest at the football fields, the soccer fields at Dave White Park. As you can see over there, this is the kid zone, this is the restroom banks and sponsor tents, as well as retail tents, and in the center is the merchandise vendors. We also gonna have a hot air balloon. We're still confirming with the city trying to see if we're gonna have a ride on there or we're just gonna do a glow, just for safety reason, okay? And the food truck's gonna be over here, and here's the main stage, and as well as a VIP. We're working closely with the fire department and community service, trying to guarantee the safety as well as the emergency route for this event, as you can see on the right-hand side. We also secure plenty of parking space for this event to guarantee the comfort and, you know, to make it as easy as possible for people to park and come to this event. This is kind of the dedicated vendors. Not only we're gonna take care of our customers, we're gonna take care of our vendors as well. Here's some of the entertainers gonna be at this event. Here is kind of a local band, Roger Klein and the Peacemaker from the Valley. And then we also were able to work with the local studio, which is the folklorical dancers from the Studio of Dance in downtown. We would like to have our community come out and perform and to engage that community pride. We are also gonna be making more this event more a cultural event, so we're working with Gila River tribe to have their dancers coming out to do a dance for us, as well as this is another local band, the Mariachi band. They working super closely in Pinal County. Here is kind of like a temporary schedule, just for your reference. So this event gonna start at 1 p.m. and it's gonna end at 9 p.m. with the firework. We do have entertainment all day, so to guarantee, you know, each customer really paying, feel worse for what they're paying for the tickets. Here's some kind of the promotion we've been doing in the center. Here's the digital marketing design we did, and on the side, as you can see here, we're working with a local vendor that he has kind of like a mobile LED billboard that been driving around in the nearby community, Maricopa, Pinal County, Eloy, and all that. Just before I move on to the film office, I know it's a ticketed event. The reason we're trying to do that because we are not trying to lose money on this. As you can remember from the newspaper, Maricopa, they just did have one big event, but they end up losing $250,000. Not only for our event, for the Taco Fest, we're gonna make a revenue on that, which is gonna dedicate it to the renovation of the visitor center to help us, you know, better serve the visitors. But also we are not wasting taxpayers' money. Here's the update for the film office. Here's kind of a commercial was filming in the Casa Grande Public Library for a commercial, as you can see over here. And this is another independent movie was filmed in the Casa Grande Mountain Erica Trailhead. They will go into in the theater around September time, and the best part of this film is more than 1/3 of the film was filmed in the location of Casa Grande. Here's the night when they were filming at that same location. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Lou. Anybody have any questions for Lou? So as part of the tourism office, and we also have the film office, right? So trying to stand up both and try and take advantage of some of the new tax credits that the state is offering for filming industry. So I think it's a good effort, a great effort, and we're just kind of getting started. So thanks to our past president and all his leadership as well.
Thank you. It was a big year with the little tourism office and the little film office, right, Renee? So, yeah. Great job. Yep.
The little chamber that could, yeah. There you go. Well, excellent. Thank you guys for everything. Thanks to Clear Channel as well for you guys being here too, and Blossom Media. Thank you, Brian, and Renee, and Lou. Thank you guys. All right. The last item I think we have on our agenda is the Arizona Water Company and our regional solution.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I can, just lay a bit of groundwork before I hand the baton over to Fred Schneider, President of Arizona Water Company. I think it's safe to say that for decades now, the city of Casa Grande has contemplated serving the entire community in their wastewater needs at one particular location of our existing water reclamation facility. What we have found is that as growth, primarily driven by certificate of assured water supply locations, that we find that there may not be economies of scale that essentially transcend to various regions, such as the east side of Interstate 10. Tonight, we're going to speak a bit about a proposed partnership and solution to provide the east side of Casa Grande with a regional wastewater solution in partnership, proposed partnership with Arizona Water Company. What that, I think, just to build for the mayor and council, at one point in time there was some discussions about running main sewer lines to the east side. There is a smaller line that serves areas such as the Promenade Mall and as well as the Mission Royale development. But as we see potential development and other types of activities beginning to happen, we want to evaluate the potential of other solutions that may ultimately be more efficient, with partnerships that may result in entities like Arizona Water Company being the provider, and they want to talk a little bit about their proposal this evening, and more important, about the partnerships that they formed on their end that may ultimately lay the foundation for an operation. I do want to point out to the mayor and council, there is no decision on this topic tonight. It is primarily just to present you with some of the concepts and ideas and proposals, to entertain questions, and we will ultimately be coming back to mayor and council with other types of action items for consideration at future meetings. But with that, Fred, I'll hand it over to you and let you get into the presentation.
Thank you, thank you, Larry. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you very much for having me here this evening. I'd like to give you an update of what we've been working on in partnership with the city staff, the developers over on the east side of I-10, and Perk Water, who I'll introduce tonight. We've had a relationship with them for a little while, and they're part of this team. So real quick, I'll start off. The area we're looking at planning for is the area on the east side of I-10. Basically what you see in the red area is what we're planning for. It overlays the city's current planning area for the 208. So basically there's not a new area, it's just overlaying the city's area with us being a potential provider over there. We would solidify this arrangement through an IGA, or an intergovernmental agreement between us and Arizona Water and the city. That would define kind of the arrangements in which we would provide wastewater service in that area. So kind of that's similar to what we have currently on the water side as a franchise agreement. This one's slightly different. And then the city currently serves, as Larry mentioned, the Mission Royale and Promenade Mall area. At this point in time, we're not looking to change anything over there. This is really working with the development community over on the east side of I-10 and those folks that want to go forward. The folks we've been talking to, we started working with about 20 folks on the east side of I-10, and we kind of narrowed down to the folks that are really ready to go forward today. We can add other developments whenever they're ready, but we have four developers that we've been working with. We've actually have agreements signed with them, a kind of a cooperative agreement, allowing us to move forward to work with the city on the 208 application, work with the CAG and also EPA, and then also to file for a CCA on a certificate of convenience and necessity, which will give us the right and obligation to serve that area. So we have agreements with all four of those folks. We have Post Ranch, and representative from Post Ranch is here tonight. That's about 2,400 EDUs. We have Springwater Point, Hacienda Estates, and then Phoenix Mart. So kind of at this area being built out, we'd be looking about 7,000 equivalent dwelling units, or about 1.7 million gallons of treatment capacity a day. To serve this whole area, again, we're planning to serve the entire area on the east side of I-10. So we studied this quite extensively with our partner PERC in cooperation with the city, and we designated 2 separate treatment facilities. The first one we're calling the South Water Reclamation Facility. This is the facility that's located within Post Ranch as part of their land plan, which has been approved. This area we're looking for to serve everything kind of south of Cottonwood Lane, all the way down to basically Jimmy Kerr. And the effluent generated from this site would be stored on this site initially. The second site we're looking at is a little farther north. This is probably a little farther off in the future. We're calling that our North Water Reclamation Facility. It's located up by Overfield and Lakeland Drive. Still working on the actual location. We'll have to work on an arrangement to acquire the property up there. It's up near our production facility. You may recall up off of Overfield, we're drilling a well. That well's been completed. We're looking to build a water campus up there. So it'll be located in the proximity of that same site, but that site's not large enough for what we're doing here. The construction of the North Reclamation Facility will be timed with what the development needs up there. There may even be some areas north of Cottonwood that we initially would serve at the south plant until there's a need to build the north plant. But ultimately, we'll need to have 2 facilities to serve that entire area. This north site is key because that's where we're looking to do the long-term effluent recharge up in that area. So that will be property-wise the larger of the 2 sites. So ultimately, the south facility will just be a treatment facility. We'll convey that effluent up to the north facility, and that's where we're looking to do our recharge regionally. Kind of anticipated timeline. So on the 3 things we really have to work through. First one is the 208 amendment. Kind of listed some things we have to work through. The initial milestone is working with the city to develop an IGA, figuring we'll have something maybe worked out in a couple months. That will allow us to work with the city. And I have a little longer time frame here. We're hoping we can shorten this up. We're talking to the city staff about possibly partnering with them on the city's 208 amendment, their update. If we can kind of get everything worked out in time, that will speed the process up. But what we've shown here from a timeline standpoint was if that didn't work out and we had to move forward on our own as we had originally planned. The second step is really the CCN application. We're looking to finalize that. We have the boundary of what we're going to file, which I just showed you. That's already done. We have all the legal descriptions and the backup information needed to make that filing. We can then file a CCN application. We're figuring that'd be around April. Once we have the IGA with the city worked out, we want to have that agreement approved and signed and ready to go before we filed. So these are, moving pretty quick for the development community is trying to meet their timing. If we have all those done, we'd expect a CCN approval from the Arizona Corporation Commission sometime probably October, maybe November of this year. This last part would really be the design and construction of the water reclamation facility. So we could start as early as probably April of this year with the design of that project. Really kind of depends on how fast we pull this together. And obviously the last part is really contingent on where the development community stands in their timing of having to have rooftops. So what we want to do is be very nimble and ready to go and have all of our ducks in a row. So when they are ready to go, we're ready to move as fast as we can with them. One of the critical components that we have is about halfway through this bullet item. We're planning to, in working with PERC, and I'll introduce PERC here shortly, they're very creative on how they phase their plants, very modular, so we can make things expandable very quickly. And one of the things we're looking at in working with them to get rooftops up as quick as possible is we would complete the initial pump station with the ability to vault and haul the initial flows. We have to do that because we have to have large enough flows to get the plant started, but it also gets the rooftops going a little quicker. And we're part of our IGA, we would hope that would allow us to discharge to the city sewer system while we're vaulting and hauling for a short period of time until we have enough flows to get the plant working. So that's kind of our plan in working with the developers to make sure we try to meet their timelines. We've worked with the developers in the area and kind of broke the project into 6 phases. We're trying to make these components fairly small initially so we can try to fit it with what the developers need right away. So we kind of identified 6 phases. We can combine these into, we can take phase 1 and 2 and combine them into one if needed. And that's what the really unique part about PERC Water's plant design is. It's very modular and very flexible. I'll introduce them here shortly, and they can provide a little more information of the creativity and their experience here in Arizona building these exact same facilities. They're not new to the area. A little bit about Arizona Water Company and our ability to do wastewater service. I'll get into this at the very end, but we've been teeing ourselves up looking for these opportunities for a number of years, and we've been strategic in hiring folks who have the necessary certifications and experience to be able to do this exact project we're talking about here. So on the left-hand side, from an operations standpoint, across the company, we have 14 certified wastewater treatment operators. We have 15 operators certified in operating and maintaining a collection system. So we have a pretty robust group across the company. Here in Casa Grande specifically, we have 4 folks who are certified for wastewater treatment and 4 certified for wastewater collection. And then our partner, PERC Water, who we plan to partner with, not just on the design and build part of the plant, but at least on the operations side for some period of time. They have a lot of experience in operating these facilities. With our partnership, they can help make sure that we understand all the different aspects. But the other part is, based on the time of development, we may be going through almost back-to-back expansions, and we feel it may make a lot more sense to have them as our partner, not just in building the facilities, but also operating them as we're going through the expansion. So they're a key part of our team. So on the management side, the folks we have, myself, so I've been with the company since 2007. My prior life before this, I was at another utility, and I was in charge of statewide operations where I ran the water and wastewater operations across the whole state. So something very similar to what we're looking to do here. So it's not new to me, might be a little new to Arizona Water. Locally here, we have our general manager, Mark Kieran, who's here tonight. He's left. He was with the company for a number of years, left. He went up to Prescott Valley, and he spent 14 years basically designing and planning and running their treatment plant, their collection system, their lift stations. They have a recharge project very similar to what we're looking to do here. He's come back to the company in 2019 or so, 2020. So he's been doing the same type of work for 14 years. So he's not new to this, the kind of the wastewater operation either. And then our partner with PERC Water, Steve Owen, I've known him for a number of years. He's got over 25 years experience developing and building these facilities across the whole Southwest, and specifically 14 of them here in Arizona. So he's not new to what we're looking to do here either. Kind of the structure we have set up for success here. Obviously, the IJ with the city of Casa Grande is kind of the overarching part of how we're going to run the utility and what we get done over here. Then we have myself. On the engineering side, we have Andy Haas and David Highway. Actually, I just skipped over David Highway real quick. Very important key person who's actually helped us get to this point is David Highway. David came to us from Liberty Utilities. He's also been on the consulting side. He has worked with PERC Water on a couple projects as well, most recently over in Goodyear on the Cerevel plant. So he has experience in designing and running the treatment plants, work with PERC Water on these facilities as well. So kind of, I think all the pieces of the puzzle for our side are coming together. So on the engineering side, we have Andy Haas, who's our Vice President of Engineering, and David Highway. On the design, build, operate side, Nate Owen and Steve Owen are with PERC Water. They're our partners on this project, along with the city of Casa Grande. And on the operations side, we have Mark Kieran and then Robert Romo, who has some experience on running the wastewater facilities, most recently for the Gila River Indian community. With that, I'll turn over to Steve to introduce a little more about PERC Water and their experience here in Arizona.
Thanks, Fred. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Steve Owen. I'm a vice president with PERC Water. Been with them for 28 years, and we've worked quite a bit around the valley, like Fred pointed out, throughout the state of Arizona. In fact, just south of here, Red Rock, we did that years ago. Did things clear down by Somerton and Whetstone and other places like that, Benson. But we've done a lot in the Maricopa County, Pinal County area, a lot of facilities that I'll show you here in just a second. So we were founded in '98, actually here in Arizona, even though we are a California corporation, but we were founded here in Arizona as an Arizona contractor. We're unique because we're design, build, and operate. So we have over 20 years working with Fred and David and the team from Arizona Water. And I think more importantly, we've successfully delivered these types of facilities here in Arizona specifically, just having completed, as Fred pointed out, a new facility there in Goodyear for Liberty Utilities and the city of Goodyear and Litchfield Park, new 4 million gallon a day facility there. Like was mentioned by Fred, the facilities are very modular, and we do a lot of work with combination of city developers in new growth areas. As you can see by the photos here, SPA 3 is a project that David, myself, and Fred all worked on in their previous employment and locations, but we worked together on that facility. That facility in Surprise won in 2009 the top DBIA facility in the region. And then as you look across there, whether it's out in Palm Valley, Sundance in Buckeye, or Tartesso in Buckeye, and most recently there in the middle, Saraval. So we've done a lot of these facilities. They're very modular and neighbor-friendly. That's the most important thing, with noise and odor control incorporated into the design. Yep. And they go pretty quickly. We finished that large facility in Goodyear just in December, so it was 19 months of construction on a pretty large facility. And I'll turn the time back over to Fred.
Thanks, Steve. So just kind of our relationship between us and PERC Water has gone back quite a few years, and I mentioned David Highway's experience with PERC Water and mine. Some folks may not know, but Arizona Water Company was in the wastewater business for a number of years. I don't know all the details, but I think that ended in 1980. I started first working with PERC Water in 2000. In fact, the first time I met Steve was PERC Water. I didn't know there was all this whole group of people behind him. I just had met Steve at a conference, and we were looking to do a first project with him, and so that's when I first got to know them. Again, I started with the company in 2007, and the company started looking at opportunities to get in the wastewater business in 2010. Spent a lot of time trying to find opportunities. Economy was pretty slow in 2010. Most of the areas we serve, the cities provide the wastewater service, so it's got to find that opportunity really with a new project. So we've been looking for a while, but it's taken some time. But with that, we developed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with PERC Water. We decided they were going to be our partner on whatever we did. I knew them. I had experience with them. They had a good track record in Arizona. So in July of 2014, we signed an agreement almost 10 years ago to work with PERC Water on a variety of projects. Saw the economy starting to turn around. We extended our MOU with them in May of 2021, knowing that, again, we work well together, we cooperate well together. And so far, we partnered on 4 different projects that we've been pursuing. Some we're still pursuing, some haven't gone anywhere due to a variety of reasons, but we've been working very closely together for 9 years now. It's a relationship that we value very much. They're very good at what they do. We think we make a good partner with them, and we think that it would be a great relationship with the development community over on the east side of I-10 and the timelines we have, and a great partnership with the city of Casa Grande. So with that concludes my presentation this evening. Is there any questions?
Any questions from anybody? Matt?
So I've been hearing about this for a while. Larry's told us about it. How would it look like to our residents here in Casa Grande? Like, would it be City of Casa Grande or Arizona Water? I know it's a partnership, but what would the face look like to people? And have we gotten that far yet?
Well, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Herman, if I can, just, a lot of that is going to be dependent on the intergovernmental agreement or agreements that we ultimately end up executing. Ultimately, what Mr. Steiner and I have been talking about primarily is that they become the operator, the wastewater operator on the east side, right? So ultimately, they would be, while we haven't got into a lot of details, they would be responsible for the day-to-day operations and the billing and everything that would transpire on that side. That is not unique to Casa Grande. As all of you know, we have an area to the west side that actually, where we would have a provider in Global Water, because they have the current 208 in the portion of our west side of our planning area particularly, but it does push up into our existing city limits. And so at least in my mind, and there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Arizona Water would be the wastewater operator on the east side of the community.
And water too.
And water as well, yes.
I have a quick question, Fred. So I noticed the 208 includes the Promenade and Mission Royale. So then would that wastewater then go to the east then? Would we intersect into our existing system, or would it remain part of the city of Casa Grande?
Mr. Mayor, again, it is a discussion that Fred and I have had a lot of discussion about. I will tell you that originally, and we learned this in some of the dialogue again with what we were seeing in the growth on the west side of the community, is that knowing that a provider has some level of base load, if you will, wastewater that would be available at the onset of the project really does change the dynamic and really change the perspective from an operations perspective. And we have had discussions about the potential of sewering anything east of Interstate 10 into these particular plants and reserving essentially the capacity that we would be gaining by not sending it to our existing plant. There are some components there related to rates and operations and the like that do become a bit complex. And so I will tell you from our perspective, and I think Fred would agree, we ultimately have elected to move forward with this proposed dialogue, this proposed partnership dialogue, with the idea of essentially starting with the developments that Fred talked about to begin with. If there is a point in time in the future where it is more just feasible and likely more efficient for our residents, then we would potentially look at sewering this to these locations on the east side. But today, they would continue to flow their effluent into the wastewater treatment plant off of Courtson Road.
Okay, and that's possible even with the new 208?
And I will be the first to say that this is where it gets a bit technical for me, and I'll ask Fred to certainly rescue me and or Kevin to come up and answer. My understanding is, as Fred has pointed out, we are going through 208 amendments for some of the changes that we've been making to our existing plant and the discharges and the like. And so we have an opportunity to do essentially an overlay in the east side area that is currently within the city's 208 to allow Arizona Water to essentially to be an operator in that area as well. Is that fair?
Spot on, yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Matt?
And one more follow-up. You have a pretty impressive timeline here, and just knowing I'm sure you have to go through the Corporation Commission and all that. Is that realistic, I hope?
Yeah,
it's out of our control.
No, great question, Councilman. It is a little aggressive, but we have a history of getting through these filings in about 6 months. So that's kind of what we've laid out.
Okay.
It may push a little longer, but we have stuff, I think, teed up, ready to go. It's really going to depend on how quick we can get our IGA and everything worked out with the city. We feel comfortable filing this CCN before we have the IGA completed, but we want to get far enough through the process with Larry and his team before we made that filing. Obviously, nothing is official until the commission approves it, and if for some reason we didn't come to terms on IGA, then the CCN wouldn't be granted. But once we get through those initial discussions, I feel comfortable we can make that filing to get the ball started.
Okay, yeah, I know we worked together, the city and Arizona Water, for a long time. And the other thing you said, Larry, briefly, that's very important is that it takes some pressure off of our existing wastewater treatment facility to open up some capacity there as well.
Right.
So for development on the west
And
side of the.
exactly.
You know.
In our industrial areas and the like.
And there's a lot to be said for that
Right.
too, so.
Yes.
Yeah, if I can, Mr. Mayor, just expand on that, because it was going to be some of my closing points that I wanted to make the mayor and council aware of. At least in my mind, the IGA becomes the essentially the next document that the mayor and council will be responsible for considering, that really sets the wheels in motion. But, you know, essentially, and you saw the presentation that Steve put together for the mayor and council, you can see that the technology is much different than our lagoon plant. And it really is a technology that's being used more and more frequently in some of these rapid growth areas. And the unique thing about at least from my knowledge, is that it's a plant that you can start small with. You're not having to build 1, 2, 3 million MGD a day to process. You ultimately are starting at a smaller scale that really aligns with the growth of the community or proposed growth of the area that it's going to serve. And so, and it's easily scaled. And as Fred has pointed out, there is really an alignment for a second plant to be built, some of that because of the recharge that we want to achieve in that area, which really becomes the key in all of this for Casa Grande's long term with the situation that we're dealing with the certificates and the like. I think that it really becomes an element that will allow us to have future development in Casa Grande at some point in time. And on the same side for the city is it essentially allows us to take capital that we may have expended or that the developer may have expended to run heavy main lines for not a whole lot of use for potentially decades. And it lets us allocate that capital in other projects like the $80 million we have underway with the expansions and the west side improvements and the like. And so there's certainly a lot of details that need to be finalized before we begin to introduce those to the mayor and council. I think from my perspective, it is one of the strategic goals that the mayor and council has asked staff to pursue, and that is to evaluate privatization. And we're doing that in this particular case. We're doing it with a entity that we've become very close with from a partnership perspective. We meet with Arizona Water regularly to ensure that we've got a good joint plan on a variety of fronts for our community. And so at the end of the day, it just seemed like a viable option that I wanted mayor and council to hear a bit about and to begin to consider. And as additional information is available, we'll be sharing that with you. Fred, I don't know if there's anything you want to say to.
No, I would just add on the partnership. You know, the company really, and myself personally, really value our partnership with the city of Casa Grande. I can say in the last 5 years, we put a lot of work into strengthening that relationship. Not that it wasn't strong before, but there's just so much more we can do to be lock and step with the city. There's so many opportunities that we've got to stay out in front of. And as Larry says, meet with Larry's team every month. I have one-on-ones with Richard Wilkie just to make sure we're in front of development issues. Just the things that we do, always making sure that we're more of an extension of the city than we are just the water company in the city. That's not my goal of where we want to be.
And I would just add to my comments in terms of as we move forward with this new technology and these new more modular type processing plants, that we also keep in mind how do we add to that processing plant to make us be able to reuse the water, right? So as a reusable water source. So I'm sure that you're thinking about that. I just wanted to make sure that I put my 2 cents in there.
Mayor, that's great comment. This plant will produce A+ effluent, which is the highest quality effluent a plant can produce. One of the reasons we want our first phase to be down in Post Ranch, they may be our first customers for some of the landscape that will reduce water demands.
Right.
And the reason we have the north facility regionally is want to be able to recover all that effluent and use it for the community, if not direct, indirectly by recharge and recovery. You're exactly right.
Right. Thank you, Fred.
And also, I know, this is a great option for us, especially as we see the growth on the east side of I-10. I know we're all excited for that. But I know what I paid attention to in your presentation is you talked about the phasing in and the flexibility. So I would imagine in the IGA, we'll probably see some of that as far as, because we want to be prepared for development, but don't want to totally overcommit in that
Right.
IGA. I don't know. Is that going to be something that will be in there?
Yeah, that has been our discussions to this point. We haven't really talked specifically about how that gets incorporated into the agreement yet. Fred may have some ideas already in his mind. It's my understanding that these plants could be scaled in certain volumes, if you will. Again, maybe that's something that Fred or Steve can opine on here for the mayor and council, but so essentially you have to scale it along with what can be done capacity-wise. And so, but I don't know, Fred, do you have any thoughts on how we craft the agreement to grow the plant?
I haven't thought about how that would be in the agreement. I think it's a great question. But in working with Steve and Perkwater, again, they're very modular, so they look at creating a basin that can do a certain treatment process, and then as the plant expands, that equipment might be removed and that basin would be used for a different part of the process. So we're not building stuff and tearing it down. It's more modular. I think Steve kind of refers almost like Lego blocks, right? So as you build stuff, you can pull a piece of a block out and put new equipment in, and it'll go from maybe a treatment basin to an equalization basin, so that really there becomes very little things, if anything, you would throw away. It's just modular and expansion. Or repurposing. Yeah,
Right, okay.
And I do, if I can, Mr. Mayor, make this point to the issue related to the proper sizing to begin with, because we have met with a number of property owners on the east side of the interstate, and obviously there appears to be some level of activity with the single-family projects and developments, some of those that the mayor and council has recently entitled, and so they're aggressively pursuing utility solutions, in this case sewer utilities. And so I know that in the slide that Fred presented a bit ago that talked about those developers, we had to make an initial assessment of who we thought could be part of, who would actually connect early on in the process, and that was the map that Fred had shown. But I do want the council to know that we had dialogue with a number of property owners. The mayor and council may recall that at one point in time we had an agreement with the East Side Sewer Group specifically to provide sewer services to a number of areas. Many of those developers, or many of those property owners today, I wouldn't necessarily call them a developer, wanted to understand what was being proposed in this particular project. They wanted to understand that they could at some point in time essentially buy capacity or know that capacity was going to be there. And at least from my perspective, this proposed project allows those things to transpire naturally as development begins to occur. Many of them have changed their plans for development because of a lack of cause in that area, so they're having to reevaluate what their ultimate development plans are going to be. But at least from my perspective, the proposal, and there's some obviously some additional details that we need to work on once we had this study session. But between the two plants, this area will be able to serve the entire east side region, and maybe even outside of that. And I only bring that to mayor and council's attention because early on we were in discussions with Pinal County about the potential of these plants serving some of the areas outside of the city limits. And really the advantage of doing that today is that you could take some of these lots that are acre in size, that they can be taken down to half-acre parcels and not have a septic, because they have a sewer solution that would give developers many more options in their development path. So I don't know if that's answering your question, but I wanted to make sure that the council was aware that we've had several meetings with a variety of property owners out there.
Great.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Fred. Appreciate it. All right, thank you, everybody, and we'll stand adjourned. We will reconvene. Give us 10 minutes here. We'll reconvene at 7:15. Begin the council meeting. All right.